Disaster response continues on the coast of North Carolina, and at this point we'll turn to Cliff Harville and celebrate what is happening in disaster response ministries.
Thank you.
Bishop Hope and the members of the North Carolina Annual Conference, I bring you greetings and excitement from the staff and all the wonderful volunteers that have been helping those in need as a result of Hurricane Irene. I also bring you many thanks from all those who have been helped because of our efforts to rebuild their lives. The North Carolina Conference United Methodist Disaster Recovery Ministry has had another very busy year as we continue to rebuild the homes damaged by Hurricane Irene. After Hurricane Irene hit eastern North Carolina on August the 27th, 2011, we began our response and recovery efforts by setting up 4 disaster recovery centers, one each in Dare, Hyde, Beaufort, and Pamlico counties. Since the beginning of our efforts, we have assisted families in rebuilding 580 homes. And folks, that deserves. We still have between 125 and 130 families waiting for our assistance, and many of you may sit there and say, how in the world can that be? It's been so long ago. But that's what long-term recovery is all about. We have started 6 new homes, 3 of which are completed and 3 that work continues, and we do have 2 more new homes to begin. The rebuildings range from replacing roofs, to rebuilding homes from fallen trees, to rebuilding from homes from being flooded. We have started 6 new homes, and with 3 still being worked on, and 3 that have been completed. There are 2 to begin as we finish the preparations to get those started. One of these homes to be started is in Newbern, and this has been a very difficult case for several reasons. One is the lack of funding, another because of the coordination of volunteer support. But after discussing this case with the district superintendent and the assistant to the district superintendent and the district lay leader of the Sound District, they were led to lift this case up to the churches in the district as a district mission project. The Sound District has now taken this case on, and they are determined to grow a home. And I want to thank the Sound District for their support. The scope of our disaster recovery work expanded last year when the remnants of Hurricane Isaac, which originally hit Mississippi and did a considerable amount of damage, came through our state and ended up affecting about 110 homes up in Halifax County near Roanoke Rapids. Because of our connection with the State Voluntary Organizations Active in Disasters, VOAD, the State Emergency Management requested our assistance to help 10 families rebuild their homes after the storm. And 2 of these homes were, after assessment, were determined to be beyond repair. And they have now been torn down, and new homes are being built in Roanoke Rapids. And the other cases will be rebuilding projects. You know, our ability to help this many families is only possible because of all the wonderful volunteers. There's no way that this staff could have rebuilt the number of homes that we're looking at. We have had many wonderful volunteers from churches right here in our own conference, in the North Carolina Conference. But we have also had many volunteers come from conferences all across this country, from 34 states, and also 4 Canadian provinces. These wonderful volunteers have paid their own way, and they have come and given of themselves to the tune of over 175,000 volunteer hours. There have also been many wonderful partnerships formed with United Methodist churches and other United Methodist groups, but also in many other faith groups. We have been able to work together, and we've gained much support from UMVM and also UMCOR. And I just want to say that I can't stress enough how we need to continue to support UMCOR, because if it was not for the support that UMCOR has given us, we would not be in operation today helping the families that so desperately need help. We also have formed partnerships with the North Carolina Friends Disaster Service, the Quakers, World Renew, the Christian Reformed Church, and also Skills USA North Carolina, which is a high school vocational classes, and they came together to help us build a home. Many individual mission teams and from churches of all denominations, we have partnered with them to come alongside us and to work with us, and we can all come together for the purpose of helping people who so desperately needed our help. But as we all know that we could not do it without volunteers, but we also need a staff to coordinate their efforts, our efforts. And I want to let you know, North Carolina Conference, that you have had a great staff coordinating our efforts in each one of these disaster recovery centers. The staff has handled everything from case management to construction coordination, volunteer coordination, and all that is involved in managing this ministry. We've got a few slides that we were going to show, and they actually were going to show the upcoming this year's Disaster Response Committee, and I see that it's not up there, but I do want to say that the Disaster Response Committee is formed for this year. You may have some new people in your district. These people are coming together to prepare for disasters, and also they're there for you when a disaster hits. So you need to turn to your new people and be ready for any upcoming disaster events that we may have. We do want to thank God for the opportunity that we have to be the hands and feet of Christ. Because we hope to wrap up our work at the end of this year, I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce the staff of the North Carolina Conference Hurricane Irene Disaster Recovery Ministry. They have done great work on your behalf in their obedience to God. If you would, please offer your thanks at the end after I have had an opportunity to introduce the staff. I also want to let you know about one of the operations that was set up initially, the operation in Manteo. It's been closed down. But that operation was set up, it's in the Beacon District, and that operation was set up totally and run totally by volunteers. There are many volunteers from the local churches in Dare County that gave of themselves many hours to run this operation for well over a year to be able to help the folks, and they've done great work in Dare County. And if you have an opportunity to meet any of those, please give them thanks, because they truly deserve it. At this time, I want to introduce the staff from the Swan Quarter operation, the Swan Quarter Center. Carol Evans, who is not here with us today, she's our case manager. And as I call your name, just please stand up. Rita Franklin is the office manager. Don Evans, construction coordinator. And Tommy Gilbert is the regional director and construction superintendent of the Swan Quarter Center. Now for the Aurora Center, we have Donna Brander. Donna's the office and case manager. And then Tom Gates is the regional director and construction superintendent for the Aurora Center. And then in Vandermeer Center, down in Pamlico County, Ann Hughes Thomas, who is not with us today, she was the office and case manager. And then we have Bruce Watson, who is the construction superintendent. And then in the conference office, we have Chrissy Powell, and Chrissy handles all of our financial accounting, and also Ann Huffman, who is the coordinator of the Volunteer Call Center. And then myself, Cliff Harville, Disaster Response Superintendent. If you would, please show your appreciation for these wonderful, dedicated people.
Folks, they deserve a standing ovation.
Thank you.
The North Carolina Conference is known across the connection globally for our leadership in disaster response. And Cliff Harville, we are so grateful for your leadership. Recently, I was in New Jersey on a response team in response to Superstorm Sandy with the General Board of Global Ministries. And the first thing they said as I arrived was, please thank the staff in North Carolina because they have helped us organize here in New Jersey.
Amen.
So know that the good work that we do is not only impactful here, but across the connection as people continue to be impacted by storms
Great.
and disasters.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to introduce one of our clients and to share his story of recovery. And I'm going to ask Tommy Gilbert if he would introduce him.
Thank you, Cliff. Bishop Ward, members of the annual conference. I'd like to introduce you to Jason. Jason is a marine fisheries officer. His wife, Connie, works with the Department of Agriculture through the local county agency, and they are a couple of our clients. May I just slip away for one quick personal note? The people that were here before us talking about prison ministries, 25 years ago, I walked out of a federal prison. Thanks be to God, the United Methodist Church and the North Carolina Conference has allowed me to work and serve in God.
Woo!
Good morning. Again, my name is Jason. I'm here today. I've been asked to come here today to share my story, my testimony. There's so much I really want to say, and I'm going to try to keep it in a timely manner. In August 2011, Hurricane Irene came through, and those of y'all that have experienced hurricanes or seen the pictures, you can imagine, what it was like. To us, it was just another run-of-the-mill storm. But Irene, she was a little slow and liked to hang around a little while. I stayed at home and watched the hurricane tear up our house pretty bad. The shingles, the screen porches, the tar paper, the vinyl siding, everything was going and going and going. My wife, like I said, she went out of town. I stayed. I called her after the storm was over and the wind subsided and told her what had happened, and a little worse than what normally happens. If there is a normal for a hurricane, it's just a little worse I'd been through. My wife came home. Actually, during the storm, I was in and out of the house. Water was coming through the ceiling, out of the baseboard. It was pretty tough. I would run inside. I'd mop, I'd cry, I'd bring out water, I'd go back outside, and I actually watched it from my vehicle. Hard-headed. But anyway, my wife came home. We live in an old 1927 farmhouse, is what it was. My wife came home, we assessed the situation, we contacted the insurance company, they do a walkthrough, the whole insurance thing. Not a whole lot, for a 1927 house. The house is that old. We started doing the whole, mobile home, modular home, stick built, what avenues do we have? We finally went to FEMA. We've never asked for anything in our life. we've always worked for what we got. But we finally went to FEMA. FEMA was a no-go. The only thing FEMA told me was, you can't live in that house. The assessor came out. It was moldy. You couldn't live in it. My wife has horrible allergies. It was a no-go. We had nowhere to go. The thing we did know, we had to build a place to store all of our stuff, if you will, that was in the house, and we did. And this is, just bear with me, it gets good. We had to build a shop, build a storage facility. And as we were building this storage facility, a friend of mine was helping me build it. He said, you need to go see this Tommy Gilbert guy, this guy here. You need to go see this guy and talk to him about your situation. I'm like, I'm not going to see no Tommy Gilbert guy. I don't have time for this. I got to get in the house. Didn't know who he was, didn't know what he did, didn't know anything about it. Anyway, this really took a toll on my marriage. It took a toll on me. I finally wind up going to my preacher. We call him preachers where I'm from. I went to my preacher, and I told him, I said, Gary, we're on first name basis. I said, Gary, I said, look here. I said, I'm to the end of my rope. My wife and I, we're ready to walk the plank. We're about to kill each other. I mean, we don't know what we're going to do. What do I do, Gary? And Gary looked at me. He said, Jason, this is where it gets good, y'all. So heads up. he said, Jason, he said, do you believe God can fix your problem? I said, sure I believe it. He said, do you believe that he can take your situation and turn it around and make something good out of it? And I said, well, yeah, of course I do. As much as I can possibly believe that, I believe it. He said, well, have you let him? I said, well, no. So he said, Jason, if you believe that, get up in the morning when you have your quiet time with God and tell the Lord that you expect a blessing that day pertaining to your house. And I said, wait a minute, Gary, I ain't telling the Lord I expect nothing, you know. This man's lost his mind. And but in all seriousness, he said, tell the Lord tomorrow you expect a blessing pertaining to your house. And okay, I'll give it a shot. You know, I've tried everything else. So I get up the next morning, I walk in the kitchen, and bear with me, y'all, it's tough. I walk in the kitchen and I talk to the Lord, I have my quiet time, and I said, Lord, I don't deserve anything that you have to give me. I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy, but I humbly come to you today, and I'm saying that I expect, out of my faith and out of belief, I expect a blessing today pertaining to my house. I give it to you, and I'm done with it. I turned around, and I walked out of that kitchen, and I left my problem in that corner where I stood with the Lord. I went to work. In my job, I do a lot of riding around. So I'm up and down the road, you know, kind of looking over my shoulder and going here and there and say, okay, where's my blessing? You know, I'm going to get my blessing, you know. And it was along about lunchtime that day. I was thinking to myself, I said, well, my blessing, it hasn't, you know, what's up? And I got to thinking to myself, I said, you know what? I haven't got a phone call saying my mom's passed away. I hadn't got a phone call saying my wife was in a wreck. I hadn't got a phone call saying my little Chihuahua Terrier is sick, needs to go to the vet. Man, there's my blessing. There's my blessing. And I said, Lord, I'll take it. I'll take that. And at that very moment, you know, you realize how much we have in life that passes us by. We don't even realize our blessings is blessings. Folks, at that very moment that I accepted that being my blessing, I'm going over time, I'm sorry. I was turning at the bypass that goes in our little community where Tommy and the rest of the guys and girls work. At that very moment, I remembered, I said, today is the day, my phone might have went off and reminded me or something, but today's the day that I was supposed to go see this Tommy Gilbert guy. And I was like, man, I'm not going up there. I'm riding around looking for my blessing, you know? And but anyway, I said, well, my friend thought enough of me to make the appointment, and I think enough of him to keep it, and I think enough of these guys to go see who they are and whatever they do. But I pull in and I walk in Tommy's office and, you know, thinking, you know, I got other things to do or whatever, and I introduce myself. Hi, my name is Jason. A friend of mine set up an appointment with you a few weeks ago, and I'm here to keep that appointment. You know, how you doing? I don't qualify. Have a good day. I'm getting ready to leave. And Tommy's like, whoa, wait a minute. What, just calm down. And I'm like, okay. Well, he said, tell me what's going on. And I said, well, basically, I need my house torn down, and I need it disposed of. It's going to cost a lot of money to get it torn down and disposed of. And I said, I don't qualify. He's like, just calm down, sit down, and let's talk. And I said, okay. So sit down, we talked. And I said, okay, what's going on? He said, he reared back in his chair, and he looked over at the dry erase board behind me, and he says, we got 150 volunteers. Virginia Tech Hokies coming in on March the 5th. We'll tear your house down. And you can hear a pin drop. Tommy said, tell me more about it. And I said, well, I explained to him, the house, the situation. I had video and pictures of the storm and this and that and the other. And he said, Jason, he said, I'm going to do you one better. He said, we're going to come in and build you a house. That's the same day that I asked for my blessing. One more thing. Cliff stole my thunder about the hands and feet of Christ, but I have seen it. And this has inspired me, and I'm going to start volunteering. But I've seen it, and I'm going to do it. And folks, these people and my God need another round of applause. Thank you.
I just have one last thing. Our recovery efforts have truly been a collaboration of God's people doing God's work to help our neighbors. And we do thank God, and we give God all the praise and glory for what He has enabled us to do through this ministry. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Let's keep on keeping on.